Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the NLC. You're missing out. Foxdrop, we thought he had an amazing voice already, but I've heard him do an accent now, and it's bloody good. Anyway, time to move on to our second series of the day. Team Singularity versus Granit. On paper, we kind of expected this to be a little bit more of a one-sided affair. Singularity with a 70% win rate in the league. They were 7-3 at the end of the group stage, while Granit were 4-6 in Group B.
And we actually have some big news. So Granit have finally unlocked their jungler, and they've unlocked Sayu for playoffs, who you may remember was playing for Riddle and is now playing for Granit. So a bit of a switch up there, which potentially could obviously be a big help to them, but we'll have to see how it pans out. I want to see Sayu playing around Sahira because I think, as we said before, that's the win condition. And Singularity have apparently already noticed that too.
Yep. Well, there goes the victor. Pretty standard ban on the side against Sahira. I expect to see that Rice also show up at some point soon. There it is. Udyr, obviously a pretty standard ban. We have seen the Olaf still get a fair amount of attention in this ban phase, especially in our last few games. But for now, the fresh is going.
And I just had a quick chat with Sahira, and he didn't like the fact that I called him crap on Twitter, so I apologize for that. But more importantly, I asked him how scrims were going, because the last time he said to me, scrims have been awful, don't vote for me, that's when they started losing every single one of their games. And I can report back and say that he said scrims were going fantastically, and then sent an emote that said, I lost. So I'm not sure where that's going right there, but either way...
Just messages.
Yeah, he's kind of throwing me about here, but it's going to be a Caitlyn first pick here for Singularity, champion that's been rising a lot higher in priority. So of course, Orcs, I'm sure you want to see the Alistair Jhin bot lane maybe here would be a good pickup.
Huh? Not sure I expected that one. Bit of an interesting one. You can actually play, like, back when Varus was playable, like, the lethality Varus was good into Caitlyn because you can actually outshove her and you can actually just poke her from a distance. And they did actually have a bunch of recent buffs to Varus. We haven't really seen it emerging. It hasn't been seen too much play, but this could be it. Typically, champions like Varus and Ashe do okay into Caitlyn because they have a bit of an extended lane range in the laning phase. But very quickly going to see the Lux as well. Coming out, something that I expect to be going support, denies it from the Caitlyn Lux combo, and also denies Morgana because Lux is a great matchup into Morgana, so it kind of forces Singularity into a bit of a creative position, I guess. They have to think of some new answers in the support role, depending on what they want to take here. I feel like something aggressive would just work for Singularity, though.
I go for the Bard.
That is aggressive. Okay. So you said Prospero has a good roaming support. How about that? Chuck him on the Bard. It's a pretty good roaming support champion if ever I've seen one. Interesting stuff. Also, I think, you know, with that extra range Caitlyn has, she should be able to hold her own in bot lane. They're not really threatening much dive either from Lux and Varus, if that is indeed going to be a support Lux, which probably is. But either way, that is going to be the Lilia as well for Nolty. His most played champion so far this season. And now hovering the Nidalee. Sayu has played not a lot of Nidalee, but we'll see whether he decides to go for this, or maybe even just the Olaf to match the Lilia.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of like a signature pick for Sayu, but I know this is interesting. They got a lot of CC to set up the Nidalee spears in the bot lane at least, but I can just say I didn't expect this sort of draft to come out from Granit. But again, we said they need to do something new, need to do something different. Standard didn't feel like it beat Singularity. I'm interested. There's going to be a lot of kill pressure from Granit's bot lane, assuming it is the Lux there. Once 6 is hit, if an ult connects, you basically just get a kill. So potentially an avenue to punish this bot lane of Singularity.
All right, well, let's take a look at what's being banned away. The Lucian so far. Denied from Fury. Another kind of aggressive mid laner I do think of when I think of him. The Ornn is going to get banned away here as well. And the question for me is, are they going to pick for Tammuz or are they going to pick for Sahira in the counter from the side of Granit?
I think Sahira most likely.
Yeah, I don't pick for Tammuz.
Yeah, Tammuz has been kind of leaning on tanks a lot as well, which is why we're seeing the Ornn ban. So he's probably just going to blind a tank that can just sort of chill in the top lane, and then they'll give counter picks to Sahira, and he'll be able to give himself a favorable matchup. There could be an exception if they wanted to prioritize something for Sahira.
I think Azir would be decent to pick up as well, because there's a good chance that gets taken away from you as well. And mid is really pinched right here.
I could see if they did end up taking Azir away from Granit. Yeah, I could honestly just see Sahira picking up Corki, which he has played. But they are just going to take the Gnar for Tamaz, so something that should handle itself pretty well to most lanes. But Wazo has an opportunity to potentially pick something that could look to counter it. So have to see.
We still got things like the GP. People have been picking that as kind of like a soft counter to the Gnar. And with the fact that you've got you've got a Bard, you've got a Lilia, it does keep the damage profile a little bit more equal. But it looks like they're going to move away from that and go for the Aatrox here for Wazo on the top lane. Yeah. And now for Fiore, what are they going to pick mid? I feel like with the things like the Azir up and Orianna, Syndra, Victor, there's so many mid laners up. I feel like I don't expect anything spicy from Fiore, and no, it's going to be the Sand Pigeon again.
Yeah, the Aatrox doesn't surprise me a huge amount either, because Wiseau is way more of that kind of bruiser style champion. Aatrox is his most played champion as well, and I really do think like in that matchup, just like with nameplates, Tamils versus Wiseau, I do expect Wiseau to be able to do some things in that lane. And Azir, one of the better mid laners, that was left open here. Is that going to be? It is. Hello. All right, so Sahira here has last picked his mid laner. He's going for the Jace into the Azir. Spicy stuff.
This has actually transitioned into a pretty heavy poke composition for Granit. And I feel like when you're playing against the likes of an Azir, of a Caitlyn, and particularly for the side of Singularity, there's not actually that much engaged. Like, you're kind of fishing with Bard ultimates or with the Bowling Ball from the Lilia. So as long as Granit can position well, keep safe, they can just fire, shock blast, spears, piercing arrows at Singularity. And the likes of a Caitlyn and an Azir really struggle against poke. The long range, if you have super long range poke just to seize them down so they can never even join the fight, they're just going to end up struggling. So I think this is actually an interesting take for Granit. Hard to execute by all means, but they have a real chance of pulling this off, and it would work in theory.
And also another benefit of the poke from Granit is there's not really any good target on Singularity that wants to soak it. You don't have that big beefy front line to eat all the skill shots to protect your team.
Yeah, well, I think it's time to get going into this series, and who better to guide our self-defecating caster Gulborg than the dad, the man who's used to changing nappies at Scoundrel. Pass it over to you guys.
I hate that guy. Like, before you say anything, like, Hiprain, I hate him.
I mean,
think of all the words that you're not allowed to use on broadcast. That's what I want to say about Hiprain.
It was a good throw, though. I mean, there was a good in joke. He linked an in joke from the broadcast that was hilarious. He linked it to me being a dad and changing nap. I mean, it was actually,
You're just saying this because yours wasn't a problem. You're like, yeah, I am a dad.
No, but
I'm like,
I've got to give credit. I've got to give credit where credit is due. I mean, it was a solid link. He linked some good concepts in a throw. I just from a pure technical capability, I'm giving props to our boy Hiprain. But look, Gilbert, it's not about us or the props or whatever, whatever Hiprain wants to say. We've got another series, another elimination match on our hands here from another team that made it into the NLC. Gilbert was like, damn you, Scoundrel, just brushing over this. But another team that made it into the NLC, coming in from the Telia series, Granit Gaming. A team that has definitely surprised. They came out explosive in the opening few games and kind of tapered off toward the end of the season. They're a very confident team. You talk to them, they are all absolutely, if you even question, are they going to make it to European Masters? They call you an idiot, basically. In paraphrase terms, they're like, is that even a question? And I'll always link back to that because it really took me by surprise. But I love the confidence from them. But they're going up against Singularity, who have arguably, I think, looked like the third best team in our entire league. They have had some shakes, but I think overall Singularity have looked very strong. So
I'd agree on that with for the start of the season, because I really think they look strong, and we kept going on the roams coming in from Prosper, the way they were navigating around the map around him and the plays they were creating about ways to actually being used to the top side. They did that really well, but I started not seeing that towards the end of the split. So to me, what kind of Singularity is going to show up in playoffs? That's kind of the question I have for the first game.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid question as well, because I think, as you said, there were really high moments for Singularity, but they also had some very low moments as well. There were moments that just didn't look as good for them. Notably against Fnatic Rising, they got slaughtered both times they played. It wasn't even close. So, I think there is some work for Singularity to do. But we have the drafts, and it is a classic Granit, a little bit of a wild draft. Sahira taking a confident pick in the mid lane as well. What do you make of both of these drafts?
So I think that it's just as the death set. You had a really good poke composition coming out from Granit Gaming. If you have great positioning, it's going to be easy for you to play around these fights, just because that they're going to be too low to even start the fight if you're Singularity. The problem with poke compositions is they're always so hard to execute. If you fall behind the curve at any point in time, you don't have a lot of tools to get back into the game. You're pretty much relying on Chains of Corruption as the pick potential with the Lux Binding to get back. But if you don't have the damage to cut through some of the members, they'll just get healed back up by the likes of Aatrox again, for example. So you need to stay ahead of curve, and if you fall back, I might be a bit worried for them. But Granit Gaming, the kind of team we've come to know them for, is that they're always this team fighting creative ways to start a team fight. So I think they can pull off some interesting team fights with this comp, and I'm curious to see how they're going to do it.
As you said, like, a lot of the work gets done before the team fights even start out, though. You've got the Varus arrow, you've got the Lux poke from the ultimate and her binding, you've got the Shock Blaster acceleration gate from the Jace, you have the spears and the boomerangs. Like, there's a lot of work that can get done before the team fight even takes place for Granit. And I guess you don't really see many poke comps these days. Like, it used to be super popular many years ago in League, but it's just not something that really ever has competitive legs. Like, it's something that always gets shut down in competitive, and I guess it's because the need for you to make more split in second engages and then look for the hard engage a lot of the time around objectives. So I'm really interested to see whether Granit can actually make this work. We have got a couple of pauses in the early game here. We are just trying to make sure that all the players are super comfortable, and they are, they're in a really good spot for this game. Singularity, we touched a little bit on the Granit comp. What do you think about the Singularity comp?
Well, I think they have the tools to have a lot of pressure in the early game. Like, Seer pretty much going to get the priority, or maybe not. It's going to be contested by Drace, but the bot lane as well. So I think eyes onto the Lilia in the beginning. I think it's going to have an easier time towards the Nidalee with priority coming up. And I also think that in the laning phase, you might have some more tools to play for, just because you got some nice setup for the top side. When Fury hits level 6, you can start to punish the hero. And you can pretty much go for some early skirmishes around the Drake as well when you have that bot lane priority. So that's kind of what I'm looking for from the side of Singularity, and then just try to snowball your leads.
Sahira went very aggressive level 1. I also like the Varus into the Caitlyn as well. The desk briefly talked about it, but he's one of the few AD carries that has a range that doesn't match Caitlyn, but can do a little bit of work to them, and they are heavily poking Caitlyn out in the early game here, just making sure it's difficult for her to push. And if Caitlyn loses lane priority, if she loses the ability to sort of dominate the laning phase and push onto towers, you saw it wasn't as successful of a pick as it was when Fnatic Rising had that kind of lane pressure. But Mishigu takes a very poor trade versus Dragdar here in the laning phase.
It's also, it always feels bad as an AD carry. You don't have the luxury of taking one armor rune and one AD or one magic resist runes, because you're going to lose out on one either way. So mixed damage profile bot lanes with poke bot lanes like this, always so annoying to play with. But in terms of who would get the priority around mid lane, we can see it is going to be Fury, and that could mean that now when both bot laners are pathing towards this bot side of the map, there could be a little skirmish coming towards the Scuttle, but with priority being in favor of Singularity, they might have an easier time to contest it, unless Dragdar gets completely poked out of lane.
I didn't even notice it's a double Comet lane as well.
Yeah.
Which is disgusting for Dragdar. That's a really tough lane to play into. I mean, obviously that Comet doesn't really have legs the longer the game goes, and it's obviously a rune that's not going to give you as much life in the late game, but it's clearly not meant for the late game. It is clearly meant to put pressure onto Dragdar right now. And Varus has even gone for Corrupting Potion to begin with, just to ensure that he has the mana to pressure Caitlyn out and continue to make these kind of plays.
Yeah, this is so annoying as a bot in Caitlyn matchup, because you're so used to you being double range, always having the pressure, and always being able to shove down these turrets, but right now they're just being completely nullified by the Varus and by the Lux. So in terms of what Granit does with their comp, if they can just keep doing what they do right now, they're doing pretty well. NLC in the mid lane, just trying to push in the wave so Fury can get a recall. Maybe so he doesn't have to use that TB to get back, so you always have that advantage as well.
Dragdar's still keeping himself relatively healthy though. Those Bard heals are just keeping him sustained up in the lane, and as you can see, Dr. Chaos actually taken down relatively low. However, has got a biscuit, has got a health pot. I'm not expecting that to stay the same for a long time here, and Dragdar just constantly having to walk back and pick up those charged heals to ensure that he is just sustaining through a very tough laning phase. I will give credit to him though. He is still relatively, or just years ahead in CS, you know, keeping even with Michigu, and with the state of the waves right now, probably will pull ahead too. So, you know, this first 5 minutes of the game, he has been able to navigate what has been a tricky laning phase for our Singularity bot lane duo.
Yeah, and I think there might be a while before we see some action. I think we need to see level 6. I started speaking Danish. But specifically,
I'm glad you clarified.
Sorry, yeah, that means 6 in Danish. Oh, Dragda actually forced to cleanse out after being hit by that binding as well. And Prosper actually backing now, so they're feeling confident that Dragda is going to be able to clear up this wave by himself, and then Dragda or Prosper could make a roam towards top side of the map or mid side of the map, but no, he's just going back with some boots.
So a relatively quiet early game then for Granit right now. As for Singularity also, I think the quieter the early game though, the more it favors Singularity. Like a lot of what this poke composition is designed to do, like Jace, double Comet bot lane, they are designed to be a bit more aggressive in the early game and take advantage of that. Now, it looks like the first dragon in the game will get started up. Whether Singularity even wants to contest this is another story. There is some low HP bars. Prosper's maybe looking for some kind of engage here. So we already forced Lilia out. Nulty taken low to the time being. Fury as well. Also, oh my god, Fury! Loads of damage, tons of damage onto the back line. And first blood and a follow-up kill comes through from the Singularity. Was that dragon worth it? I am just not sure.
No, it is most definitely not. Yes, you get you get the Drake stacking going for the early game, but kills going over to the enemy mid laner. Luckily for you, no laners lost their life in that exchange, so you're not gonna get pushed down into turrets and lose too much farm on the map. You just lose tempo in terms of getting the support out of the map, in terms of having the junglers cleared again. But all in all, you wanted to go even into this. You wanted to be able to do what you do now as Granit. Start the objective and then set it up afterwards. But Saju didn't even have Smite because I think he was forced to use it to get HP back earlier in that dragon take. And afterwards, I mean, they're just like shooting fish in a barrel or whatever you want to say right there. They're just easy to chase down.
So good reaction from Singularity. I definitely felt... Do you feel like Granit were forced to make that play because of the style of their composition? Like the earlier you take the dragon, the quicker you can snowball it into a soul, and obviously as a poke comp, you don't have the legs to last out into the late game. Is it something you just felt like Granit were pressured to do here?
No, I don't think so. I think they said, all right, let's see, it just had a reset. We had the pro mid, we had some pro bot lane. Let's see if we can burst it down. And then the timing was just off, and they weren't able to, well, they were able to secure the Drake, but they weren't able to get out alive, which is also 50% of the process. So, yeah, kind of lacking that exit part of taking the objective. But I don't think they were pressured to it in any way, because they still had a decent time by just poking down the enemy laners and trying to get priority around it.
And honestly, Singularity as well now, they can maybe look for a play around Rift Herald. You know, like that can be an objective that they can look to fight for. I think they're in a strong spot, especially when the ultimates have come through. You know, I think level 6 for Singularity is very strong, especially because you haven't fallen significantly behind in the laning phase. In fact, you've come out ahead, realistically, off the back of that dragon fight. So I think, you know, Singularity are in a really good spot to look for a team fight here. The only thing that you might have to worry about is Thomas, maybe Thomas. But apart from that, I don't think there's any way that Granit can actually respond to you if you get to like a full-on level 6 team fight situation.
No, I think you're completely right. And now Singularity, just with that pressure from the mid lane and from the top side, Nulty has just started soloing out the Rift Herald. So question is there going to be any cross-map objectives from the side of Saju? Usually when you know the enemy team is investing resources toward one side of the map, you try to create a play on the other side of the map. But with Granit having a bot lane that's pushing in, with a cleanse and flash being up for Dragda, I think it's going to be hard punishing this. Oh, does hit it.
Let's hit it, but I don't know if they can go for the dive right now. Like, I don't think there's any way that you can force something on the other side of the map. Unless you like get a double binding, like, you know, like, and obviously we have cleanse, which has just been burnt by Dragdar, so you'd have to do that again, like once the cleanse is down. I actually like the, you know, Dragdar. Obviously in this lane, cleanse seemed like the absolutely necessary choice, but it is paying dividends for him in terms of keeping him safe and not giving away any advantages to Granit in the bot lane.
Yeah, and also like how intelligent they were with their waves. Like, they crashed it, so it was going to be a stack wave, so it was going to be pushing towards them after they'd taken that Rift Herald. What are they doing?
Yeah, what are they doing? That is a very good question. I'm not sure. I assume Prospect thought he could find an engage. Obviously, Nolty is here. And Nolty, he's got a big goddamn stick. Fury ends up getting the kill at the end of the day, but a big bonk from the twig onto Michigu's head. I'm guessing they were setting up for that, but they were just a little bit slow to get there. The ultimate popped by Evazor, looking for the engagement to Sayu, who is forced to use the blast cone to get away. Not a fight that you want to take head on there, Sayu.
Yeah, it looked like he could get the cash onto Azor, but I mean, you're not killing this Aatrox right now, especially not when World Ender is up. And I don't know how that happened towards the bot lane. Taking that magical journey into Lux binding is usually not the play to go for. It's kind of like reverse bard. You always take the magical journey first, and then you wait for the enemy to walk through it so you can get that stun. But they see Dr. Chaos clearing out that ward, so I suspect they think they can go for it. They know Chains of Corruption is on cooldown, but my word, like, Michigu flashes a bit earlier and Prosper's just dead here.
And obviously then Nolty does turn up, nicely timed on the seed, and that's an easy pickup for Fury at the end of the day. More kills in Fury's back pocket, who, by the way, is now 2-0-1, 100% kill participation, and is starting to ramp up, working towards his first mythic item also. Looking good for Singularity at the start of this game. That poke comp, again, Granit feel the need to force this Drake, like get that soul timer rolling, and obviously they're in a good position to do so as well. I'm not sure with Nolty's ultimate down that they can actually look for this fight. Nolty gets caught out, lots of damage coming through. There's the ultimate as well. Chains of Corruption does land, and Nolty may end up dropping down, takes a magical journey to keep himself safe. Somehow gets out of that fight alive, but Granit do secure that second Drake of the game.
And in that small little skirmish, you do see some of the strengths that Granit Gaming's composition have. Like, you need to be the first on the objective, or else they're just going to be able to pick you down and, yeah, strike you down. Just not this time, apparently. Nolty, I feel like that was more luck than anything else that he actually gets away with his life there. I mean, 7 out of 10 times he probably dies in that exchange.
Yeah, there was no calculation there. It was just the damage wasn't quite applied in the right, you know, methodology for Granit to actually pick up the kill. Nolty did. I think what Prospect had set up, obviously, a good magical journey for him to use. Vazor now has got that Conqueror available. The ultimate proc is going to be forced to flash away, and here comes Sayu looking for the next engage. Will not be able to find it as... Oh, yeah, he will. Okay.
Very anticlimactic, and I feel like the tables have just turned here. On the side of Granit, like, they're the one who's poking down the Caitlyn bot lane, and this is not what you want out of this lane. Waster also getting caught out with no vision towards the top side of the map. He just decided to go for that exchange, not expecting Sarju to already be at the top side after resetting for Drake. But with that, he does go down, despite the flash from Sarju. Still paying off in the end somehow, some way.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, like, he really took a fight that he didn't have enough information to make, and unfortunately was punished for it. Nolty's going to drop the Rift Herald in the mid lane. Something that is still going, you know, in Singularity's favor is Fury, and he is obviously going to be a pretty big deal when it comes to some of these team fights. Just looking to get at least one tap to make sure he's in the range, but we'll get all of that gold, I believe, donated over to him. So he's now about 1,000 gold over Sahira in the mid lane.
Yeah, definitely not a bad side if you are a Singularity fan. Knowing that you will have reliable damage in the Azir from the backline is only going to be a good sign towards, yeah, these next couple objectives. Because, yeah, Granit Gaming, they already have 2 of them next strike and they're on soul points. So you're at a point where you need to have the favorable resets. You need to be the team that sets up the objective. Problem is, say that, Prospect going in on Michigu, no flash.
Yep. It's a little bit questionable, though. You don't really have much support as the Chains of Corruptions come back through. There is the ultimate from Dr. Chaos. Prosphere taken so low off the back of that engage. And again, these are not really the fights that you want without support right now for Singularity. You get caught by one bit of CC, and they are going to chain it into you over and over again. And somehow Prosphere escapes with his life.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that it's Singularity that keeps going for these exchanges, like Scoundrel. Like, it's not like Granit is just getting a Chains of Corruption on them out of nowhere. He Magical's journey in there. He wants to go for the fight, even getting a Tempered Fate down, but just looks so awkward after it is down, because there's no follow-up. There's no way Dracula's going to be able to go up. And with that, it's always going to be Granit who's going to have the upper hand towards the end of the play. So going towards these next couple objectives. Oh,
yep, Sahira just trolls Fury there a little bit with the failed Shurima shuffle coming through. And I'm sure Fury will be very happy about that. Sahira escapes with his life. Does get a little bit of damage thrown back on his head, but at the end of the day, not going to pick up anything significant from that play.
All right, 20 seconds until next Rift Tower spawns, and usually there should be priority for Singularity towards this just because they do still have the Asir, but they did just waste that Shurima shuffle. But I would love for them to kind of just leave Drakta down here, try to push out the wave with him, get a man advantage towards the top side, and secure an objective you're actually able to contest. Because in 1 minute, next Drake is going to be spawning. If you have Rift Owl for that, you can always just get instant priority. But Sayu's on that objective now, and if he gets that objective taken down, he's going to be able to create instant priority for a lane before Drake spawns, and that's great for poke composition. If you can be the first on the objective, you can just poke your enemy down while they try to move towards you.
Starting to look pretty good for Granit actually in this game. Like it did look pretty sketchy after that first dragon, but they've managed to gain control once more. It's going to be Demolish in the top lane too, so close to getting that first tower. Actually, I genuinely think Thomas could have got it. Probably would have forced the teleport out of Vasil, but is that really a bad thing with the dragon spawning in the next minute? Forcing that teleport is probably not a huge deal, as the teleport for Fury back into the mid lane to ensure that he is there to support this pressure, because this is a dragon that you're going to want to set up for Gilbert.
Oh no, Sayu, you can't get caught now.
He got caught. That's a bummer.
And that's your Drake gone. You'll just have to... That sucks. That really sucks if you are Granit. But as you said yourself, Fury TP'd into the mid lane to get instant priority. With that priority, they control the river, Stardew oversteps his boundaries, and he just gets taken down. And that should be a free Drake from Singularity.
If Nolty doesn't try to go for the River Scuttler over the dragon, which is what he was kind of doing. I imagine that they may be looking at potentially going for a smite steal, a steal onto the dragon. I guess that's the only way that you play it with Dr. Chaos here. Close, but no cigar. Nolty picking that up. Prosper actually looks for the engage, maybe times the stun, will land it, but there isn't really much counterplay, but follow-up on the back of it. Will pick it up with the kill from the Seed. I genuinely didn't think they would have the ability to follow up on that, but they did. Singularity get the dragon and the kill.
Yeah, luckily Drakta had an extra trap in his inventory. That is just Caitlyn 101. Always keep an extra W ready. So if something like that should arise, you're ready with an extra CC. And that should be the mid lane going down as well. So Singularity were just about to rule them out of this game, saying, all right, Granit, they're really doing a great job. They should be ready to contest the next Drake. But no, they shut down Sayu. They get the Drake, they get mid turret, and now they may lose their top laner.
Yeah, Vasil has to be a little careful here. Now Thomas is going toe-to-toe, but Vasil does have that healing. Stunned against the wall, trying to do his best to keep himself up and alive. Nice stopwatch, but that gives Vasil time to react. And that will be the kill for Nolty. Killing spree on the Lilia. And I'm not sure you necessarily needed to do the stopwatch.
Yeah, it is what it is. Unlucky, he tried to make the best of it. It's a hero as well.
Yeah, Sahira's forced to flash here, though, to get the kill onto Prosper. That should just be another easy kill for Fury. You trade 1 for 1, but I don't know if it's worth.
It's a bit of a classic Granit we're starting to see here. They're making the game a bit more chaotic than it needs to be, but taking a look onto the map states, they are pushing bot lane in because obviously Bart was moving towards that top side. And top lane is pretty much reset, mid lane is pretty much reset, so you're not losing too many waves here. You still have something going for you. So while it does seem a bit questionable, they're still gaining some pressure on the map out from it. And here we just see the fight here. I don't know what to say outside of just starting to play by playcasted. So Excounter, what's your opinion on this?
I mean, look, Thomas, I guess he was trying to stop the third Q coming through from Vasil, but I don't know. I didn't feel like he needed to stopwatch there. It was really well played from Nolty. Nolty is so good at Lilia, by the way. Really, really good Lilia player. But yeah, I don't know. I think he might have been able to get the kill if he hadn't stopwatched. I'm guessing he didn't have any cooldowns up and would have been relying on basic attacks, which is never a good look. But it was close either way. It was microseconds in between being your kill and not being your kill.
Yeah, and I mean, Tamos might go for the same exchange again. This time he bought healing reduction, Nick Scoundrel.
This time he bought healing reduction. Does miss the ultimate, but I don't think it's going to matter. He should be able to chase Vasil down, and Vasil will not have the capabilities. Actually, he uses the ultimate there. I thought he used it just previously. Vasil will flash. Nice flash from Vasil. And he's actually going to stay in this fight because Prosfair is coming up. They are going to threaten Tamos enough to force him out again.
So yeah, now you can see the difference between fighting in Aatrox with and without healing reduction. I think Tamos realizing that, knowing he could have killed him beforehand if they had that healing reduction. Rift Herald have been summoned up in the mid lane. There's no wave to back it up yet, and you can't do this against the Bard.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair to them, I think it was running out. I think they just had to use it, so at least they burn a Tempered Fate.
Yeah, but that's on a relatively low cooldown. You can see that it's almost a quarter off cooldown already for Prosfair. So that's not exactly the worst thing in the world. They save a load of damage on that mid lane tier 1. And again, like you said, it's not really something you could do with the Bard. Maybe this is the pick that was kind of sitting in Singularity's mind. Maybe they thought, well, they've got quite an early game focused comp. They've got quite kind of like lane dominant picks, especially bot. You know, maybe we just stop them snowballing with Rift Herald by picking up this Bard. Not sure that was the only reason for the Bard, but, you know, maybe a nice added side effect.
Yeah, and as you said, relatively low cooldown on Tempered Fate as well, so it is going to be up for this Drake. That is going to be spawning in 1 minute, and right now, Singularity on the map, they're just starting to clear out their own vision. Granit Gaming have actually been doing a great job at getting vision across the enemy jungle quadrant, and that's perfect. When you have a poke composition like this, it can be really hard to step forward, because you always have to keep in mind that a Chains of Corruption can come out on Fog of War. The Binding can come out from the Fog as well, so always need to be careful around this vision setup, and that's what we're seeing the teams fighting for now. They're fighting for priority in lane so they can come in and get the setup. Sarju, are you getting caught again?
He might be. The Shurima Shuffle is not quite good enough, and this time he's actually caught out. Fury forced to flash out of the Lux ult, and he is absolutely taken low. Oh, the flash sidestep. Fury keeps himself alive. Granit tried everything to get Fury into the graveyard, but that will not happen, and now suddenly they're following up. Dr. Chaos is taken down. That was so close. It was a matter of millimeters between Singularity losing Fury in that engage and not.
Remember that, but they're not done here.
Exactly, the teleport coming through, Wazel's buying time. The healing is there. No one's got healing reduction between Sahira and Sayu, but now comes Tamos into the fight. He is low. Ult's the wrong way, not exactly stunning anybody up here. And now Sayu getting chased down, will drop. And this will be a team fight win for Singularity. And more importantly, Soul Point denied once again.
Yeah, once again, and it's just these poke composition. It's just as we talked about, they're really hard to execute because you need to have the pressure, you need to have the vision to play around, and you need to play around your own vision pockets, and you've just not been able to do that. They've been having really good responses from the side of Singularity.
Oh, he stole it. No, there's no way he gets away with that. Michigan will just walk out the Tempered Fate, pop an emote. Thumbs up. Yep, that was a good pickup now for Granit because that actually puts them on Soul Point.
I'm pretty sure Nolty had smite.
He did. He did have smite. He just got out smited by the arrow.
That's not a thing. That is not a thing. All right, so here we see, like, Vision is just in favor from the side of Singularity, and a great Chains of Corruption almost catching out Fury. So the positive thing for Fury is that if he survives this, he does have TP to come back and secure the priority, so it's just going to be a lot of wasted utility from the side of Granit Gaming. And one thing they actually had was that top laner pushing towards inhibitor turret this whole time, so I would have liked for them after the Dr. Chaos getting caught, just saying, you know what, let's just keep pressuring topside instead of opting in for a fight where you TP your top laner down towards the bottom side. You know the TP is still up from mid lane, so you are going to be at a disadvantage, and I think the best scenario here is actually just you stealing that Drake. I don't know how that happened, and it might be you getting away with murder considering how the next Drake setup is going to be.
And obviously it's Cloud Soul as well, which actually is pretty solid for Granit, especially when it comes to Mishigu and Dr. Chaos. Ultimate cooldown reduction on those guys will be relatively impactful when it comes to setting up for teamfights.
I want to give Nolty the benefit of the doubt there and say I think it was miscommunication between him and Fury, because Fury did just make 2 Sand Soldiers auto-attack the Drake when he tried to push off it when the arrow was coming through. So I think in his mind, he just wanted to stop damaging the Drake, and in Fury's mind, they just wanted to burst the Drake. So maybe a bit of miscommunication coming through. at that Dragon Steel.
Irrespective, it still feels like Singularity are in a good spot, though realistically the gold difference is not that big, you know, for this stage in the game. We're only looking at about 1,500 in favor of Singularity, so Granit still keeping themselves very, very relevant in this game, despite, you know, the scoreline 10-2 suggesting otherwise. And I think a lot of that has just come through the sheer number of turrets that they've taken in this game. It is 3 turrets to 1 right now, and a lot of that has come through the top lane pressure. Looks like they're going to catch out Dr. Chaos. Nulty is unstoppable. He's 5-0-3 right now, and I think Sahira is the next one to die.
Yeah, let's see here, because there is phase rush available for him, so he does dash out here. But I've never seen a Moonstab do this much damage. Like, he actually went Dark Harvest with this build as well, and usually you're like, oh, Lilia is so good at doing damage, just running in and out and healing your members. No, it feels like he's the primary damage after seeing these fights.
5-0-3 as well. He's had a really, really good game on this Lilia pick. You can see why they prioritized it so highly. And finally, some standing gold being taken by Singularity. Right, we need to take stock, Gulbug. It's 24, 25 minutes into the game. There are some big score lines for Singularity. Obviously hasn't translated into massive gold leads yet. But we should take a look at the gold in the items just to see where we are. It really feels like Fury and Nulty are driving this game with the items that they've got.
Yeah, they for sure are, and I think if you are Granit Gaming with the items you have secured right now, it's still enough to do some damage when the pokes comes out. Like, you cannot disrespect that damage if you're Singularity, but at the same time, you need to realize that obviously the mid laner and jungler are ahead, so if you want to take fights, you can't approach them like you've been doing so far. Like, it needs to be more calculated. It needs to be around these vision pockets that we see with pink boards, where you get a pick on someone who's not ready for it, because then you can still blow up a target. But your biggest problem right now is Fury's Banshee's fail. If you can proc that and then maybe catch him afterwards, that'd be ideal. But Prosphere as well, Cleanse, or Drakthar rather, Cleanse, always going to be problematic getting him out. So while there's no objective up, a win condition for you could be trying to burn some of these summoner spells, or could be trying to get rid of the Veil.
Yeah, at least setting up for the future eventuality that they are going to be needed to be dropped when it comes to an important team fight. Now, Prosphere looking for another engagement. It's actually 2-1 and 8. You know, somehow, you know, Prosphere has been massively impactful with the highest kill participation in the game, and you really wouldn't think it, because it doesn't feel like he's done that much, but he's actually been quietly driving a lot of the catches and a lot of the teamfight picks that we found in this game. The Drowsy is going to come through. I don't know if they've got the ability to chase onto this. The shot comes through from the Caitlyn, but unfortunately the flash is there from Varus, and that is enough to ward them away. They're going to drop the Azir turret on that tier 1 in the mid lane. It is just buying pressure for that dragon, but the dragon is still a long way out from spawning. There's plenty of time for Granit to reset here.
But my god, look at the damage coming in from Fury, taking away half of the AP of Dr. Chaos in that exchange as well. So while there is good poke coming out from Granit, there's also good poke in response. From the side of Singularity, Wasteland maybe can't go in the jungle, but got the Umbral dash out of there. And now they are onto the Drake Scoundrel.
They are indeed. Prosphere trying to buy some time. And Vazor looking for the knockups across the wall. They will get the Drake. That's the big engage from Vazor, and combos it into Fury. Huge damage from the Singularity team, and now they're looking for the Penta, but it's stolen. It's stolen, Vazor. Why you got to do him dirty like that? Why you got to do him dirty like that, Vazor? It is a triple and a double, but it is a complete ace for Singularity, and Baron is now on the cards.
It would have been such a well-deserved Penta for Fury as well, even with the Shurima shuffle in the end to top it off. Man, Scoundrel, I could hear the disappointment in your voice when they stole that.
That was heartbreaking, because it should have been. Look, I mean, I'm being unfair. Vazor set that fight up so perfectly. He deserved some credit for that engage. I hope we get a replay, because actually Vazor's, that reminded me of like Aatrox at Worlds destroying Fnatic's dreams.
And it's not like they don't know he's there, they're just willingly walking into it.
They know he's there.
Oh, well, they must have felt like this was the only shot they're gonna get at taking that Ocean or Cloud Soul, just because that they thought they maybe would get outscaled. They knew Fury's getting accelerated onto these team fights. He's level 16, highest level on the map right now, together with Waysource. So obviously 2 powerhouses now, but in your fear of getting outscaled, you got outscaled.
I know, and now we're looking at 6k gold lead. The Baron is there. Baron is so awkward for poke comps to deal with as well. I mean, look at the minute amount of damage that Michigu and Dr. Chaos are actually doing to these minion waves. It is so difficult. Ace and Hole comes through. Dr. Chaos will take about a third HP out. Vazor still going toe-to-toe with Thomas right now, and Thomas is very, very happy to take this. But I mean, Vazor is just so tanky. Sayu is here. Vazor jumps across, looking for the engage. Thomas flashes in onto him. That's the healing coming through. Fury's there as well. Nothing you can do. The 1-2 combo from the Singularity solo laners. And this should be wrapping up the game for Singularity. I'm not even going to commentate this. He's just dead.
Okay, fair enough. I kind of wanted to leave room open for you, but yeah, okay, fair. But you can kind of see the desperation in Granit right here. It's not like they didn't know Fury had TP off, but they just felt like they had to go for some sort of play because they thought they were losing the grasp of this game. And that's what happens when you get put behind as a poke composition. You don't have a lot of tools to get back into the game. It's all around pick potential then.
If the enemy team can just shrug your poke off, then they're not bothered, right? And if they get so far ahead in the game that they're able to capably do that, then, you know, what more have you got? Granit are going to lose every single inhibitor off the back of this Baron. Baron power play and a half, my man. They have taken literally everything bar the Nexus, and I think the Nexus isn't long for this world either. Singularity have absolutely steamrolled Granit. In a space of 3 minutes, the game is over.
Yeah, it's definitely close to being over at this point. Resets now coming through. You got turrets, you got all inhibitors, you got the minions. So obviously you had gold to spend, and 11k gold lead right now. You can take a look onto mid lane now. 14k onto the side of this Azir. Even the junglers and top lane are following up at 12k. Like, this is just like huge gold differences on all fronts right now.
Ace and Hole comes through. Sayu tanks it with the Banshees, but I'm not exactly sure that's what he wanted to do. And Fury forces him out. Sayu desperately keeps himself alive with the heal. Thomas is just literally by himself in the top lane, desperately trying to push those inhibitor minions back. The super minions making it hard work for this Gnar. And Singularity are now camped at the walls of the Granite Castle, and the siege weapons have been laid. It is not long until this castle comes crumbling down.
Yeah, D-Day for Granit right now. It's going to be a tough call to try to keep these minion waves balanced out, but at least there's no Baron buff any longer. At least you don't have to worry about that. So poke damage can try to come through and help you clear up these minions, hopefully poke down the enemy, but take a look onto Fury. He's asked you to do almost the impossible in this scenario.
Yeah, Fury just needs to look, and then they go for the ult. They're desperately trying to put an ulti into a situation where he can't fight. Thomas taken low, Drowsy coming through now as well. Only onto the Gnar for the time being. There maybe is an opportunity here, but I just think that honestly they're too far ahead now. That's 1 kill, 2 kills picked up for Singularity. It's a 3 versus 5. Vazor's just diving the turret to zone them out. He's not even bloody dead. How is this guy still going as he puts another knock up onto the back line? Prosper will get the Tempered Fate. They're looking for a stun onto Dr. Chaos. But it doesn't matter about the small points of this fight because Singularity have won the first game in this series.
And there we go. First series in the bank for Singularity. I like the creativity coming out from the Granit Gaming draft, and they did get the Drakes going in the early game, but after that, it was clearly Singularity dominated. One fight where they get a pick onto Sayu, one fight where they get the mid lane turret afterwards and just gets out of the map. That's all they needed.
Goodness me, I need a little bit of a break after that. That was a huge team fight that came through that just basically tipped the game on its head for Singularity, really broke it open when they picked up that Baron. And honestly, it might be back to the drawing board. This wild draft, something very off meta that was pulled out by Granit, it didn't land. The mark was not hit. Do they have more in their tank, or do they need to go back to what has worked for them in the past? We'll have to see. We're going to go to a quick break, then our analyst desk will break down that game in further detail.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the NLC. Orcs is just hard vibing, so we're going to bring up the scoreboard. We don't want to see his face. Let's talk about this game, guys. Orcs, you were paying a lot of attention in that last one.
Yeah, I think, honestly, for a long time, it felt like Granit still had an opportunity, still had a chance. They were up in dragons, despite the fact they were massively down in kills, which typically we saw as a bad thing. You remember we were talking about before. They were actually pretty close in gold, and I felt like there was definitely a window I could see Granit come back into it. But they got impatient. I think that's the big thing is they didn't play it slowly. They tried to force in that dragon fight, and that's kind of what backfired on them. And I feel like this was a game they actually could have won, despite the fact that there was such a big kill lead. And I hope they don't get to start for game 2 and try and put a similar sort of performance in, but just fix those issues.
I think they also lack someone to kind of face check for them. If you don't have a face checker, then you don't have a vision setter, and if you don't have vision, it's kind of hard to play poke, right? Because you don't know where they are. So it didn't help either.
Well, I believe it's Orcs this time talking us through his favorite play of that game.
Yeah.
So, Orcs, over to you, mate.
Yeah, and I think this play, so to set up Singularity, aren't actually too far ahead in this situation. This is kind of like the last big point where Granit find their way in. But what Singularity has here is control. So you can see as we're pushing in, we have this line, we have this line of Caitlyn traps, which is here. There's vision control in this area of the jungle. We've got wards showing the entrances. It's just really good vision setup. And the critical thing for Granit is they don't have any vision in the actual river. And they've rushed this approach. Like, bear in mind, for context, at this point, Granit has 3 dragons, Singularity has 1. They don't need this. It's nice. Obviously, getting the soul is huge, but they can let this go. And instead, they try and force in super aggressively. And you can see they're moving in. They're rushing here through the Caitlyn traps. They haven't got the vision set up on Wazor here. And this is essentially what sets the play up, is the fact they don't have vision and they've been chunked out already in the situation. They still try and force in. They all step on traps, and we get this massive combo coming in here from Wazor. And this just instantly throws the game away. And I think the thing is something that, I'll let the clip play out, but something that we talked about with regards to this composition is with poke comps, you have to play them well. And I think you have to be patient and get the poke down. That's the whole point of the composition. And they weren't patient. They tried to rush without the proper preparation. And as a result, it was very easy for like a very healthy squad on the side of Singularity to engage on them. If in that situation, Wazor's 20% HP, different story. But they didn't have the vision, didn't have the setup.
Yeah, and things will be changing in going into the next game. Granit have chosen blue sides, so essentially the first time today where the teams have changed side. Foxy, what do you think that's going to do for this game?
I think it might help Sahira get a better mid lane pick. Maybe if it changes the bans there as well from Singularity, he might be able to first pick something a bit more comfortable for him. I mean, yeah, the Jace. To be perfectly honest, like I don't think. Well, I mean, yeah, the draft is very unique, I'll say. But they were playing it fine, honestly. It was all right. They just goofed, as Orcs was saying. Like they goofed like halfway through that game, and they just kind of dropped the ball. But it was never going to be that easy for them to play. And the thing is, like, you know, Sahira has a lot of responsibility on him to carry this squad. And I don't know, like, can you just get a good first pick? Can you get something that he's more comfortable with, more of that kind of control mage style? And if you can, then I think you just snap that up.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we did see was, you know, for the side of Granit, they put together a poke comp. And we know, we've all been watching poke comps long enough to know that if you start to fall behind on a poke comp, it feels really, really rough. So considering that game was definitely closer than any of the other playoff games we've had so far, there was, you know, it felt like Granit had a chance, unlike most of our other games we've had. I feel like if Granit just pull it back, maybe go, okay, let's not poke comp this. Let's go for a team comp that has a kind of an all-in a bundle comp. Then maybe there's going to be a bit more of a competitive game going into game number 2. That's what I want to see anyway. And we know Tamos plays these tanks. We know obviously the Ornn was banned from him, but you know there's still things like the Malphite. There's still picks he can play for, right?
I think as well, from my perspective, it's something that Foxtrot was saying was about they didn't have someone to face check. And I think like they had the Jace, they had the Nidalee, they had the Varus, and then they had the Lux as well. And it's like you had enough poke with even just 2 of those champions would probably be plenty to meet your objective. You didn't need all 4. And especially when your top lane is a Gnar, who's typically someone who's not the best at face checking because he kind of needs Mega Gnar to be that big threat. And that's like a limited window. And you saw in that clip, he was rushing in while Mega was up. So I think if they'd just gone, cool, we have a bunch of poke, what else do we need? And they'd given themselves a support who's good at face checking, potentially one with a lot of disengage as well. Something like Gragas could have worked. We could have seen a different scenario there. I think it's kind of like not putting all your eggs in one basket, like make your comp have more dimensions and try and iron out the weaknesses.
Yeah, I thought Fox had something to say there. My bad. Yeah, honestly, it's gonna be a pretty exciting game too. I think genuinely, we're gonna be hopefully gonna see Granit kind of put a bit more of a fight up, because that game could have honestly gone anywhere, to anyone at one point, and it did just swing out of control a little bit too quick for them. But for now, we are going to throw to a break, and for all our viewers who are currently watching on their phones in the loo, make sure you wash your hands. See you in a second. The audience are here. Look busy. Hello and welcome back. We're getting ready to go into our second game of this series. Singularity went 1-0 up so far. We'll see whether or not Granit can fight back. And oh, look at that. Sahira once again getting banned out.
No real surprise at this point. You
One
kind of just
champion.
expect it.
That's it.
It's a bit harsh,
There's the
honestly.
two.
Oh, he's banned out. We go next. Rises off. I mean, the Victor's another. Yeah, okay. The Victor's gone as well. Those are two most played champions. It's two most comfortable. I did say maybe Singularity mix up the draft a teeny weeny little bit. Maybe we can get a priority pick for Sahira on blue side now. But honestly, I think outside of Rise and Victor, I don't think there's anything really worth first picking for Sahira. Like, I think he's just, yeah. At this point, he'll just play anything that's left open for him.
So
See what he's
Karma
gonna
being
pick
left
up.
open with Singularity banned last time, but they've put a lot of priority onto this Caitlyn pick. Has been emerging, have been seeing more of it, but I don't think every team's kind of seen it at the same strength as Singularity has. Granit, do you now have choice to take for that first pick? Could look towards the AD carry pool potentially, or just take up that Karma if they value it. But actually going towards the Lilia, so it's 9 that way from Nulty, and he has shown in the later stages of the NLC that he will just pick Lilia whenever he can. It has been his go-to in the jungle.
Strong rotation there for the bot lane, though. Instantly getting that Rel and the Kai'Sa. We haven't really seen too much Rel today. Had high priority yesterday, but it's going to get picked up here. Now, over the Granit to answer out with. Thinking about like things that are open for them right now. The Fresh obviously is the typical pick into the Rel, but with that band, it's not going to be open to them.
Finally, someone picks Rail. Holy moly, gosh. I feel like that's been like on the board the whole evening, and supports are just like, nah, not gonna play that. Strongest champion this patch. Nah. Finally, Crossfair's gonna pick that one up. And we often see like the Alistair, some kind of disengage go into the Rail with that Xayah lock-in though. Yeah, this is also the alternative, is you can just do Xayah Rakan, which is quite interesting because that's not any. Well, okay, so Xayah has decent disengage, like she can protect herself, but as far as that synergy and that combo goes, it's very much aggressive, go in and fight, and Kai'Sa Rel going to be able to match them toe to toe.
I like the Skarner coming out though. We saw how Skarner can cause issues for Rakan earlier today in the series between Nordavind and Kova, and it's just instantly there again. It's also problematic for the Lilia. Obviously, she likes to get up close, use that movement speed to dance around the edge of a fight. Not really possible if you're just getting pinned down, dragged in. But that leaves solo laners up and available, and Singularity are in the better position, I'd say, here, because obviously they can take that. They can take a priority pick after this rotation, and then they can look for a counter pick on whichever lane they want.
Again, there is the Yone ban, although this time it's Singularity banning that out. Renekton's going to get denied here. We're probably going to see some top lane focus. Don't let Wazor get kind of too comfortable. Although I did think Tammuz had a better lane than I expected from him on that Gnar. Normally I think of Tammuz as basically an Ornn player. Picking up that Gnar and actually had a pretty decent laning phase versus the Aatrox from Wazor in that last game. But we'll see whether or not that's going to make it through.
I think at this point as well, I see that Aatrox or Gnar is your last ban here for Granit, because you don't want Vizar to be on comfort pick. But also as well, like these strong. I would think here Granit should blind pick. Sorry, not Granit, blind pick. But there's a good chance that Singularity, will blind pick their top laner next. Actually, maybe I'm chatting rubbish.
I think the problem if they ban Aatrox or Gnar here is that then if they ban Gnar, then Wazor picks Aatrox, you don't have as good an answer. If you ban Aatrox, then he just picks Gnar. Actually going for the Gangplank here, so neither of those. And I feel like Tammuz could just take the Gnar into this again. We have seen people playing the Gangplank as a soft counter to it, but I still think the matchup's completely fine. The bigger concern is kind of like the map impact from the ultimate.
Just got Malphite, innit? No. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, I feel like Tammuz works best when he can play these tanks and play more of a facilitator role. And I think Gnar doesn't really play into his strengths too much. Like, so this will be his third game of Gnar, this split, and he has a fat, big donut in his win column. It's a 0. He hasn't had any success on that champion so far. And I just don't. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, just play to your strengths. There's a reason why, like, Ornn's his most played champion. Like, that was even open this draft as well. I really think, like, just play more of a facilitator type, and then into the gangplank as well. If it's a tank, you could just armor stack. I mean, there's no point talking about it now because that's not what's going to happen. Instead, Sahiro now has locked in the Orianna. He's good on control mages, so I think that Orianna really does suit him. It's a fairly safe blind pick, but we might just see Fury go for that Syndra, which is a very common answer, or not.
Back in a bit more punch of the Zoe. Can apply a lot of pressure, especially in the early levels. I think we've kind of seen Granit, they're 1-0 down, gone back to your more standard run-of-the-mill composition, no big curveballs here, and a pretty straightforward win condition. You have reasonably strong laners across the board. You have a jungler who can farm up Storm. When it comes to team fight, you have decent engage, decent CC, decent peel, kind of a lot of aspects. They're like a jack of all trades. And Singularity haven't really differed too much, but I think there's a lot of aggressive tools that Singularity have that they can play around. I think Rel can have a lot of solid backup from Kai'Sa, the Skarner, the Zoe. I expect Singularity to be dictating the pace in this game. And if we're expecting Singularity to be challenged some of the better teams in the tournament, I want to see them with a decisive win. Because game one, when they finally got to the tipping point, it was kind of on the back of a mistake from Granit. If Singularity want to set a tone, send a message, they should crush this one from the early game.
And I like the GP pick here because it really sets up the engage from Singularity. Both Rel and Skarner want to run towards you and then jump in, and GP ult slowing down the enemy team there should make that happen a lot easier.
Well, I think it's time we pass it over to the casters to break this game down. So it's over to Excoundrel, an incredibly talented play-by-play and former child.
I mean, you're not wrong. I was a former child quite a long time ago, but I was a former child a very long time ago. I am nearly 30, by the way. In fact, I am less than 6 months away from being 30, so I am Giga Boomer territory, unfortunately. So, Gulbug, you wouldn't have been alive when I was a child.
Probably not. How old am I,
Since you're 12. Okay, we are heading into this second game of the series. It is actually Singularity versus Granit again, of course. Now, Granit do need to bounce back here. A little bit, like we were expecting a little bit more, I would say, I guess, out of the ordinary from Sahiro, but this is kind of, I think they've taken a leaf out of that book where they've said, okay, we tried something different. It didn't work in the first game. We've gone back to a more standard draft for the meta. We've got the Zyra camp bot lane at strong. We've got Sahiro on the Orianna for teamfight impact, taking away the Lilia. Like, I think this is a better situation for Granit to be in into this second game.
Yeah, like we always say, easy to execute is the way to go, and I don't think you could have drafted a easier comp to play than the one you have right now. Like, it's pretty straightforward. You can kite back with Orianna and the Sai ultimate, but you also have that engage with the Na and Rakan, so you're flexible with your possibilities, and it's just about how do we set up for these objectives. If you had this draft, but play the way you did in game one, you probably would have succeeded more. You can see Granit, they were not comfortable on being on a poke composition. They have always been the team that we have praised for their team fighting in the late game. So it's a bit unorthodox to see them on a poke comp last game. I think they're way more comfort now. Obviously, Sahiro have been questionable when he's not been on champions that wasn't named Victor or Rice. Did have a good Corky game as well, but I think it's, if you want redemption now as a guy who needs more bans on the palette, I think this game will have to be it. Like, statistically will have to be it, because if you don't win, you're out.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. This is what the stakes are for this particular series. If you don't win, you're out. That's it. NLC done and dusted. No European Masters. And when I talked to Granit, they were saying, like, European Masters, like, if you ain't taking this seriously for European Masters, I don't want to talk to you. And essentially they were that confident that that's what they came to do. I think the specific phrase was, we're not here to spectate. We're not here to just let the big teams roll over us. We're here to play. And a lot of throughout the split, they proved that to be correct. Obviously, things haven't quite always gone to plan. They've had to change their jungler around, they thought, to give them a slightly better chance coming into the playoffs. And that first game obviously didn't go the way they wanted it to, but they're not out of the running. We still have more to see from Granit, and the more comes through in this game.
And Granit as well, if there's a moment where they show up, it's when no one expects it from them. It was like that in the beginning of the split, when everyone except Trouble voted Godson in that first game for them, but they completely stomped them. Then it was versus Nordwind, they stomped them. Then it was against the other teams, they stomped. Like, they had some really impressive wins in the beginning of the season, and then everyone started believing in them, and then they started losing. So maybe it's now at the blink of destruction when no one believes in you that you'll be able to take it.
I think that might be the key to Granit's success. If we just count them out, that's where Granit
they're like
does best.
KT. They're like KT, no expectations.
Exactly.
Like, don't think they can do it. Like the NLC KT, that's Granit right there.
Exactly. Don't think that Granit are capable, and then Granit will suddenly be capable. Okay, there we go. We've basically got into game here. Looks like we've managed to finally load in. We are heading into our second game of this series. Vezor on the Gangplank, Nolte on the Skarner. We have Zoe for Fury. Haven't seen too many Zoes as of late. What do you make of the Singularity comp? Because we kind of talked a little bit about the ease of execution for Granit, but for Singularity, it's a little different.
I still think that there is some ease of the execution of Singularity's composition as well. Like, it's pretty straightforward. You want to play around the map and poking people down. With the Zoe, you have the Gangplank ultimate to chase them down afterwards. And then you also have the disengage you get in the Rel kit. Rel, to me, I've said it a lot of times, but is by far my favorite champion on this patch. Great engage, synergizes well with champions like Skarner as well. When Skarner goes in, she props the attract and repel, and you're stunned. You get into the Skarner ultimate, you get stunned afterwards. It's the same with Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa dashes in, you stun them between the line, and it's just over for you at that point. So I think you have a lot of niche combos you can pull off. And to me, obviously, a lot of people thought that Syndra was going to be the pickup. I think that this Zoe is a champion that can have some more impact in the mid to late game around the skirmishing objective that we saw Granit did as well before. So I think it's been strategically put up against how Granit plays. So when we go around these skirmishes, around the objectives, you always have to be wary of that trouble bubble.
Yeah, and honestly, Fury is I think a guy that if I believe correctly from doing a bit of research, he's pretty solid at Zoe. Like,
yes.
Usually you have people that have got some sort of Zoe mastery to them, and Fury's definitely one of those players that has a lot of Zoe experience, and so we're expecting some solid things from him. There's other pick potential on the Singularity comp as well, like Zoe plus Rel into the engage, or Zoe plus Skarner, for the pick off of a single player. So, pretty good to have options for Singularity. Of course, one of the things that drove Granit in the last game, Gulborg, was those first Drakes sort of snowballing the soul. Is that something that they could do this game, or do they have to play a little bit more defensively and wait to sort of scale up?
So, due to you not having too much pressure before you hit level 6, it may not be on the table before that 6 to 7 minute mark. Just because the Syndra, not the Syndra, but the Zoe is always going to have priority towards the mid lane, bot lane. You can see them already now crashing in wave 2, will have priority, but as soon as you get the kill pressure down, the pick potential down, that's when you need to be careful if you're Singularity. And then you can try and get a pick, then you can try and set up these Drake objectives, because you do still have Lilia, a champion that will farm faster than a Skarner. So there is a possibility for Saju to play around the skirmishing potential you get when you hit that level 6.
And obviously this top lane matchup's a little different this time round. The kind of Gangplank picked up as a soft counter to Nara, especially obviously with the grasp. You're just able to constantly proc that and obviously make it very difficult for Tamos to get an effective trade. How do you see this one going out? Do you think this is just something that Vezor will just slowly win, or is it something that there is some windows for Thomas to abuse?
To my experience, this matchup just goes even a lot of times. I know we call it a soft counter, but I mean, there's a reason we call it soft, and that's because we never see GP going for the solo kill. It's just a neutralized lane, in my opinion, here, and it offers you the it offers you the global presence around the map, and it's a champion that now is not able to punish. Like, you can see you trade out pretty evenly here, but now we'll always have the lane priority. Then GP will trade his HP for poking you down, but now once again, as you can see there, we'll have the lane priority. So it's just going back and forth here, but GP obviously having the possibility of poking the Nara down.
Now, Sayo is on the top side of the map here. He's going to be, I think, looking for something to counter and invade on, but it looks like Skarner has gone for a full clear. Although it looks like the second respawn on the Krugs is coming up, and Sayo's timed that perfectly, as he should be able to get those off the map.
He was just spotted, I think, on that minion wave. Pinks did come out, so as you can already see, Nolte is making his way towards up here in Saju. I don't know if he may be caught. Vezor doesn't have a lot of mana and it's getting warding out. Saju, no smite, so I think he's just forced to back out here.
Yeah, Nolte is coming in with that smite available as well, so Sayo not able to get much done in that invade onto the Krugs. And Nolte's going to take his Spire back, thank you very much, and go back and continue to farm that camp away.
So 30 seconds until Drake's respawns, but still a bit of time before we can get to those setups. Lilia is still a bit too squishy to just start soloing it out. And we are still waiting for that 6:30 minute mark. That is when mid laners hit level 6 at 6:30. Normally, or 5:30, I can't remember. It's 5 or 6:30 that mid laners hit level 6. So that is definitely a time where you can start looking around skirmishing, trying to pull out, or trying to force out some summoner spells so you have a summoner spell deficit for a fight, or kind of trying to scare the enemy away going into a fight because you know you don't have that summoner spell available. Because right now, as the map state is, it is hard for a team to just punish straight up individually in a lane.
Now, first dragon has spawned, Gilborg. That is now on the map. Is that something you think Singularity force here? You know, Vazor is not too far away from level 6. Is this something you just think Singularity have to go for to start that ball rolling? You don't want to sort of give Granit the time to set up and get level 6 and potentially fight you on it?
I don't think you can do much, honestly. Like, if you need that, you need level 6 on multi first. When you have that, obviously you can try and go for it. But before that, I mean, there's not much for you to do. As you can see, try to get on the Rakan, but he's just gonna dash out. But with this, with Sayu pathing towards the top side and with the bot lane having a late reset, they may just be able to take this Drake without a fight for it.
Yeah, it looks like they're just going to give it over. Maybe, as you said earlier, maybe Granit were aware that this would be something that would be an early contest point for Singularity. And as you said, like, Granit not interested in it pre-5 or pre-6 anyway. And Sahira also has no mid lane priority versus Fury right now, so they can't even get out of his lane to kind of even get in a good position to contest. So that'll be first dragon of the game picked up for Singularity.
But this is so
with relative ease.
This is so good for Singularity. They started, if you take a look on the bot side, they started a freeze as well, so they lose so much for having a laid back as Michigu. Look, Drakdos, he's been back already, but he's level 5, and the minion waves keeps freezing in this point. Like, the Drake setup was so good for Singularity. And at the same time, Sayu couldn't go for a cross-map play. All the cams were down for Nolty. Now he's starting to do it, but it's way off Kurt. Waster is here to stop him for it. So Singularity is just utilizing the priority around the map and the setup for this Drake so nicely without having any punishment from the side of Granit.
But Granit will start to get to a position where they could punish, right? They will eventually get into a position where they're much more capable of actually being the aggressor in the team fight, much more capable of just getting into the Dragon Pit and actually forcing an engage. Because right now they're clearly not, obviously. They gave that one up for free. But there are still more objectives to think about. Like, we have the Rift Herald spawning relatively soon. We have the second Drake coming up, you know, in 3 minutes time, 3 minutes 30. So, losing the first Drake's not the end of the world for Granit.
Yeah, but what point do you attack, X-Scoundrel? Do you attack the Orianna if you are Granit? Because you have to attack a lane, right? Do you attack the Zoe, who keeps having this lane prio, where you can see Sahira not winning a single trade? Do you attack the top lane, where Wazer is healthy on the turret, but you're unable to punish him the whole time? Or do you attack the bot lane? It's so hard for Granit to just all of a sudden create a team fight. And that's kind of what I think they're struggling with right now. They're not sure what they're doing to... of course they know what they're doing, but they're still waiting for that specific point where they're saying, we feel comfortable fighting. I think that's around when you get first mythic items on these carries, around when you can lay a one-bow combo with the Na, with the Orianna, with the Lilia. But my concern is just that if they wait too long, that they'll get snowballed. But right now, they're doing a good job. They're only 100k down. Oh, not 100k.
100k?
100 gold down.
Wow,
oh, they're only
100. Huge gold.
200 gold down. They're only 200 gold down. So if they keep it like this, they don't have to worry too much. But as you said, like, they can't just watch and just look at Singularity take away the game.
As we saw from the last game, though, that was pretty much the story until we got to Sol.
Oh, no.
And then suddenly, like, Singularity just popped off, right? Suddenly, Singularity just, like, took over the game in an instant, and we went from a less than 1,000 gold lead to suddenly 5,000 gold lead for Singularity, and then the game was over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, true. And, in terms of map state as well, like, you just have to compliment Singularity, because even though Fury does not get the solo kill there, he forces a hero off the tower. He doesn't have TP, which means he will lose a whole wave. At the same time, the lane swaps came way too late for Granit Gaming, so they rotated their bot lane towards the top side. But there is no Rift Herald to get, there is no objective to take. You tried to go for some plating, but the cannon barrage from Waster came out, so you didn't even gain too much tempo from taking any plates either. So it's still Singularity who's winning out on these exchanges. And they have the Rift Herald, so with your bot lane being slow to come down towards the spot side to it, with Drakta being able to just set up a wave, you could just drop the Herald and give him some extra gold.
The rest of Granit are coming down towards this bot side of the map, though. Snolty is going to get a stun on Dr. Chaos, but will not go for the engage because Sahira was walking down too, and they will not do any kind of no funny business around that bot side of the map. Now, Nolty looking for the engage, and actually Sahira flashes straight away. Doesn't want to be part of that engage whatsoever. And that's now flash down for the Orianna.
Yeah, and that's an attack point if you are Skarner, because you do have flashes. Nolty, you're continuously pushing in waves, so you can always come from behind. You can see there's not a lot of vision around this mid lane either to defend the hero for potential dive, so I expect Singularity to attack that weak point in a bit as well.
And also, the next Drake is spawning. Now, obviously, it's second Drake in the game. If you're Granit and you're not comfortable setting up or going for this, then you don't have to. It doesn't really mean that much other than delaying the soul a little further. But Sahira doesn't have flash, and he doesn't have Quicksilver either. So as you said, there's a flash up on Nolty. That is an attack point in the next team fight if they want to go for it.
Granit are not feeling too confident either going for this. Waysel TP'd up towards that top side. You know Thomas doesn't have TP either, so he doesn't have to worry about them having a TP advantage. But Sahira now, having mid lane pushed out, feeling confident to try and get down and get some river control and potentially start up this fight. But I don't know if they're going to win this. Remember, no flash on Sahira. Nolty does have flash himself.
Exactly, and Prospect has the engage potential too. Now Fury looking for it, gets the Drowsy straight onto the backline. There goes the Magnet Storm, straight into the middle of Granit. First blood over to Zoe. It was only a matter of time before that came through. The Drowsy lands, it's a 4-man sleep, but there is no one to follow up on it. Sayu will not get rewarded for the play. Singularity come out on top, and that should be second dragon in the game.
And Scoundrel, you said it yourself. You don't need to go for the second Drake. Yes, you can stop them from the Drake stacking now, but you might as well do that on the third Drake, because you still don't have your items. And there is no way you were going to win that fight. It was just a losing fight you walked into. And you could have just given that objective up. You could have tried to attack Waysel. You could have tried to do something cross-map, but no. You lose out the fight, you lose Drake. And with this Singularity in a 2k gold lead all of a sudden.
Yep, and that's exactly how it happened in the previous game. Like it seemed even, but when it came to execution on a team fight situation, they just fell off a cliff. And Granit, they don't seem to know what to do. They don't seem to know what win conditions they want to activate or how to even play them. Thomas actually forces the flash out of Vasil. This has actually honestly been one of the high points for the Granit side. Thomas has had good Gnar performances. Hasn't really meant much in the grand scheme of things, but the 1v1s have generally been going pretty well for Thomas in that laning phase.
Yeah, 1v1 has been decent, and that's why I say, like, us calling GP a soft counter, I don't see it working out too often. But here we just see the replay, and you know, you can see as soon as Singularity steps up, they're just like, wait, we can't actually do this, Drake, we need to back out. And an insane engage from Prospere just leaves them as easy pickings for Singularity to pick up these free kills. Like, the fact that Saju gets out alive with that beautiful 4-man is just a miracle in itself.
Rella's just insane. That right there is why she's your favorite champion.
Yes.
Like, that kind of engaged potential. It's like a mini Orianna ultimate that just lasts for a lot longer. It's so good.
Yeah, it's just a really nice kit to league where, like, we have some disengaging champions, but often we see them in Enchanters as well, like Polymorph or Lulu Ultimate or Janna Ultimate or stuff like that. So it's nice for a change that you get champions like Rel, where if you're on top of them, you need to be wary of CC as well, but you also have the engage potential. Like, to me, it's just such a well-rounded support that is probably always going to have a place in competitive if the kit stays like this.
Vasil now getting to the point in the game where he can very comfortably one-shot minion waves with those barrels. And that's going to make it much harder for Gnar to push and get advantage in lane, because that's really the break point that we're looking for. When he's able to just clear minion waves with ease with those barrels, Gnar suddenly loses most of his priority. And that is now coming to the break point where Vasil will start to be able to push back more effectively against Thomas.
But at the same time, there's never really much happening around this top lane. Like, yes, they keep trading, but there's not many resources being poured into getting a kill onto Waysor. Because, like, it's been a while now where Waysor haven't had his flash. There's been a while where he didn't have the TP. And I think he should have been a weak point that you decided to attack across map with. But Chaos roaming towards mid.
Yeah, gets the knock-up onto Fury, being forced him very low. That is a defensive ultimate from Vaser, but it will not land, and it's going to be Prosper. It's Prosper underneath his own turret. Double kill for Dr. Chaos as he gets dragged back into the turret. A 1-for-1 trade overall. A double kill onto the support, not exactly ideal. And honestly, I think the best thing that Granit get out of this is the Rift Herald, and maybe the top lane turret here as well.
Yeah, this was just perfect from Granit, essentially finding a fight out of nothing. It was just a roam coming in from the side of Dr. Chaos and Shockwave onto Fury, who just used his ultimate. No flash from the later fight, and that just means easy knock up here. Fury almost getting out with the heal and the Cannon Barrage coming down, but not enough. And then Prosper with a crash down, being top mid like that. It's just pretty easy to kill up. Yeah, you sacrificed Dr. Chaos life void, but I don't think you mind that.
We'll trade turrets across the map. First turret obviously did go the way of Granit, so some silver linings off the back of this early game. They did not immediately get priority on Rift Herald though, so that is an objective that still stands and is still optional for the teams to go for. And it looks like Singularity are now posturing around that objective as if they want to potentially threaten it.
Yeah, but there's also 1 minute towards the Drake, so either you say, alright, let's contest Singularity on that third Drake, or you say, let's cross map it and get the Rift Herald to see if we can inject some gold into some carries and try and get back into the gold lead. Because it is still a small gold lead for Singularity with 1.3k. Mythic items, though, are still not finished from the side of Sahara, so that also means you are going to be at a deficit onto the next fight. Oh, as I say that, Fury haven't actually finished his either, so maybe you're feeling confident enough to take this fight. You do have flash on your carries this time. Mishigu does have cleanse as well, and you have TP onto the Gnar. Knowing Granit Gaming, even if they do not have the pressure, they'll probably try and contest this streak.
Yeah, and obviously Vaser has the teleport too. Also does have the Cannon Barrage available for this fight, so that is a relatively important ultimate up and available for him that he could potentially cross map and then teleport in to get involved in that engage. Now Nolte is going to be establishing some vision control around this area. The decision really has been made for Singularity that this is the objective that they're going to put priority on. But I don't know if they are as strong as they were in that first engage. It feels like Granit are not out of this just yet, despite how catastrophically bad that first engage was for them. They are still in the running when it comes to gold. They are not that far behind.
I think this is the fight where you turn it around if you are Granit. But have a look onto Prosper now. He's in the infamous bush where I've seen multiple crashdowns land. Never mind, he just exposed himself. But Granit, actually too scared to walk forward with no mid lane priority, with no river control. They're just going to give this one up for free. Not even trading Herald for it, just looking at mid lane turret, I suppose.
I get the impression that they were thinking about going for third turret. Sorry, for third dragon, then decided at the last minute to not. Does feel like they are going to be able to cross map this. I don't think that Singularity are now in a position to contest the Rift Herald, but it was a little bit slow on the uptake there.
It definitely was, but positive side is that you keep having Thomas, who's getting stronger and stronger as well in that top side. He always have that priority, so maybe you can establish some vision control around the top side and try to make sure Nolte doesn't have top side camps to farm. You can see already now in the jungle, Thomas is stealing away the red buff, but at the same time, towards this bottom lane, Singularity is kind of trying to bait them to go into this turret, try to steal the farm, but they're just resetting meanwhile.
So we're now 18 minutes into the game. As you said, some mythics are starting to pop up. Obviously, there is now the Ludens picked up for Zoe. I imagine we're not too far away from that being picked up for Sahira as well. Mythics kind of on everybody at this point in time. Lilia has gone for the Liandries over the Moonstone build. So what you would often call like the more aggressive Lilia build for Sayu. Like which team is really favored with these items that kind of finished up and picked up?
I mean, it definitely it will always favor you if you finish your items, but in terms of getting them done, like we're talking 2-item power spikes.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to ask the question of is finishing items good. I think that's relatively obvious.
Well, before you say that, Sayu, Nokia says, speaking of items,
He's going to get chain CC'd. Crash down, gets the knock up. That was really, really nice. That was the dragged into the rel stun, you know, between the two of them, then the crash down. They just chained 3 bits of CC together, and that was just a really nicely executed.
And I think, speaking of items, that's the thing we need to look forward to. The scan attacks, no one of the side of Granit Gaming has opted into it now. I think they're just... They don't like the thought of having to buy back QSS. They don't like the thought of not having the damage 2-item power spikes for that champion. So maybe it's not something we'll be seeing until 3rd item, but I think it would be beneficial for you to get one of these QSS done soon. Or else there's just nothing stopping Nolty from just flashing in and numbing whatever target he wants to just...
Exactly, just like literally pincering someone. Like he's, you know, Sayu and Sahira are the obvious targets. Dr. Chaos is a relatively good target as well. You know, I think Michigu's a little bit harder because he has the Feather Storm to keep himself safe, but
yeah,
like you've got 3 rather important targets that you can very easily drag into a team fight, and we're not that far pressed from the Soul at this point. 2 minutes time, we're going to have another Cloud Soul available. Prospere jumps over the wall, the Drowsy does come through. Now Thomas is there for the engage as Prospere lands the Magnet Storm. Sayu blown up! Somehow Prospere keeps himself alive. The Shockwave will take him down, and Thomas is now forcing Dragda out of the fight. It is a 3 versus 4 at this point in time, but, you know, the kills are not really going to amount to anything. There's nothing on the map to take.
And crucially, you are going to respawn before the next Drake. Oh, Michigo forced to use his ultimate.
That's big.
That's a big W right there. And one of the things that could also be beneficial for you, is maybe getting a kill on Fury.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what Fury was doing there. Nolty's now going to be forced to flash away as well. I mean, Fury basically just face-checked most of Granit's roster.
He didn't face-check. Look at the river. That is full-blown vision for them. He knew what was going on.
Okay, he dumb face-checked. like, watch it back.
Alright, so here's Prosper in the beginning, and, you know, this is clutch from Prosper. In a situation like that, a lot of people would panic, but Prosper instantly flashing onto Sayu instead. Magnet Storm and stun, and had it not been for the TP, he would have probably survived that exchange as well. But you do force out the flash from Prosper, so he won't have that flash towards the potential Drake fight, and that can be huge. But here, you knew Chaos is there, and you're just walking into a Rakan. That's extremely disrespectful. You're face-checking him. When Zoe's known for a champion that likes to play around with range. Thomas coming around from the back. He is spotted on a ward.
We'll get that mid lane turret. The priority has been picked up. Now, actually, a sleep has landed onto Sahira here. I think it was the sleepy trouble bubble from Fury. But actually, that has allowed Granit to get priority on this dragon, which has now been started up. Another Drowsy lands onto Sahira in the backline. It looks like the Singularity are just going to go straight for this mid lane turret in response. Dragon has yet to be started up here, Gulborg. And actually, Singularity are looking for the engage. Though there is the Rel brush, as you said, this time occupied by Dr. Chaos. There will be a steal away, so they will not get the soul available. They're going to drag him back into the fight. And now it is essentially the 3 versus 4 in the backline. That is a 1-for-1 trade overall right now. But I don't really imagine that Singularity are done with this fight. They're looking to re-engage. Dragdar coming down the side. Sahira taking low. That is some low HP bars as Dragdar is ready to pounce. I think Granit may be able to get out of this. They have a little bit of mobility to work with. Huge damage coming through, though. Dr. Chaos not taken down low. Dragdar desperately looking to try and pick someone off. Fury on the sidelines. Another huge hit with the paddle. They are going to sacrifice Sayu. That will be all she wrote for the team fight, but Singularity are denied the soul.
And that was a long extended team fight. I can't even remember who got the most kills out of that. Oh, I know Singularity got the most kills, but Drake, crucially, is being stopped for the side of Singularity. And let's take a look at that fight once again. So it's a bit split off. Forcefair on the other side trying to get a kill onto Thomas, and Waystar and Nolty trying to get into the Drake, and then they're just forced into a fight. But Waystar has to flash out, and Nolty has to let his life go in that one. So I think there could have been a way where you played that a bit more clean on the side of Singularity, but as they start to chase him down, they're just going to get all the kills. In a pretty long run, forget about the green mile. This is the Summoner's Rift mile you're walking.
And I've really got to take stock of the gold now as well, because even though the scoreline is a lot closer in terms of kills, Singularity do have a major advantage in terms of gold. They are now looking around, what, 4,500 gold in their favor. Let's take, I was baited by the replay. I don't know what we were going to replay there, but yeah, okay, we're not replaying anything. 4,500 gold. Obviously, we've got a little bit of time until the next major objectives come up. We've got another 3 minutes until the reattempt at the Soul takes place. We have the Baron obviously on the cards, but it's a little difficult to just straight up force that. What do we think is gonna happen over the next? Are we just expecting Singularity to wait out for the next Soul, or do they make an attempt at Baron?
I think they could definitely go for an attempt at Baron, because as we could take a look at the items, I want to see if there's any QSS being picked up from the side of Granit Gaming, and as you can see, there is not. You still have Hex Splash onto the Skarner, you still have ways to just get onto your opponents, and the same could be said for Fury being caught here.
Exactly. Yeah, Dr. Chaos, he does have that Banshee's Veil though, which actually keeps Fury relatively safe. The re-engage comes through with the Cannon Barrage. Naughty looking for a pull. Crossfair is going to flash out of the Shockwave, and Dragdown not even in the fight as of yet. So it was an attempted engage that was disengaged on both sides. When I say that, the flash pulled straight onto Sahira. That is a big pickup. The tax has yet to be paid, and Naughty has come to collect his taxes.
You know, I hate my taxes just like any other man, but you gotta pay them, Sahira, or else that happens.
Is that enough now? Is that enough to force the Baron, or at least try to?
I think it's definitely enough to start it. Cannon Barrage is coming up as well. Oh, they're trying to get onto Fury again.
They were trying to get onto Fury there. Maybe Dr. Chaos looking for the knockup, but Fury will flash away in that situation. Thomas has come to join the fight at this point in time. Now it looks like mid lane Prio is being brought by Granit. They're looking to maybe push onto that tier 2. Although I say that, Dr. Chaos maybe looking to catch them by surprise. No, doesn't go for the engage. I thought he was maybe trying to go for a cheeky little engage here, but they will not.
There is no way they do this. Oh, Thomas found a farming Naughty.
Naughty spams the Behemoth.
Yeah, I don't think there's much coming out of this fight. Oh, got the Grump as well.
Well, that's it. Pack your bags. Granite have won the game.
If only it was that simple.
I heard when you get like one Krug from your enemy jungle, that's it. You've won the game.
Let's take a look onto this Baron instead.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, well, of course, as you said, the Baron is still going to be something to think about. We have a Dragon Soul spawning in 1 minute, another area that I'm sure Singularity will not want to lose out on. But, I mean, items are not that different between the two teams right now. There are still like 2 item spikes. The QSS tax is there. For Mishigu, he's the first person to pay it. 2 items. I think Sayo's now got the Zhonya's, right? So that's, you know, another way of trying to negate the Skarner in some way, shape, or form. So there is now like some relatively important item spikes coming out for Granit. They could look to try and contest this Soul once more.
Yeah, and I mean, they have to if you're Granit. You can't just deliver this Soul over to the side of Singularity. It's just going to be even harder for you. If Skarner gets onto you with an ultimate, that's going to be a speedy Scorpion you're going to be facing. Same for Kai'Sa. Loves jumping in. There's a lot of abilities that would love some ability haste going down for you. The extra passive movement speed you get from Cloud as well. So they could be trying to thread the needle and trade it for Baron here, but usually what happens with these dances is 4 people will try to contest you and the 5th member just solos out the Drake. So all Singularity have to do here is just try to bait them away from the Baron.
And obviously it is the Gangplank that is soloing out that Dragon at this point in time. He has that ability to cross map. He should get this relatively quickly. I mean, Granit are forced into an awkward situation here. They kind of just have to go for it. The Soul has now been picked up. They are committed to this play. The Cannon Barrage may do enough to force them out, though, as Thomas is taken low. He will dive away from this Baron. That is a good shockwave, but Crossfair will get away. And now Fury will desperately try to chase them through this blue side jungle. Baron has been reset. This is a big win for Singularity, and unfortunately, I mean, Granit didn't have the hack of a Rift Herald to give them the mid lane Prio this time round.
Oh
and
my
Singularity
God.
gets... What?
I'm sorry for interrupting. Yeah, I was just saying the sleeps from Fury was just insane in that fight. First, baiting out the QSS, not baiting out, but forcing out the QSS from Sahira, and then afterwards the sleep hit again and he had to flash. Like, it was just 2 exchanges of him being like, oh damn it, oh god, not again.
And that's a big loss because that Soul is important. Like, again, you mentioned the speed being relatively impactful. Obviously, the ultimate cooldown reduction is great for pretty much anybody on Singularity's roster. You know, everybody's got these big impactful ultimates. So, Singularity right now are sitting pretty. The Baron, the next point of call, realistically. I mean, we have Elder spawning in 5 minutes, clearly. I think Singularity are in a position to win this. I don't know. I mean, Granit are not out of the game. Don't get me wrong. They still have an Orianna. She still scales. They still have a Lilia. She still scales. But it does feel like Singularity in the driving seat in this all-important second game of the series.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I just think that we're going to come to a point where they're going to try to get them out of their own jungle.
Gale forces Knight him, by the way, but the flash comes through from the Kai'Sa to keep us safe from the Grand Entrance. And that cannon barrage is enough to try and dissuade Granit from re-engaging that fight. Now, they're not going to go for Baron here. They don't feel comfortable enough to do so. The cannon barrage with that soul, by the way, that is almost on a quarter cooldown. And that is a big deal because that is generally quite a long cooldown ultimate for the Gangplank. But he is now looking at a relatively short window between using that all-impactful ultimate.
And I love the way that Singularity is playing this. Like, they're just playing it with so much confidence. They don't need to go for a play like this. They know, all right, you need to show bottom because we have Waystar pushing in. When you show bottom, well, that's when we go and attack around the Baron.
Looks like Nolty's looking for someone. He pulls in. I think that's Xayah at the end of the day. Dr. Chaos, who does not have the QSS, obviously, but in the backline, Thomas is doing so much work. I mean, Dragdar has taken low. Sayu gets the kill onto Prosper. This is actually a really good fight. A Featherstorm comes out to try and take Dragdar down low, but Vazor will trade back. The knock-up is there. They'll get the kill. It is two men left standing, 2 for 2 overall. Fury on the sidelines. I say I apologize. Nolty and Sayu are still available in the mid lane. That was not the most convincing fight from Singularity.
No, that was huge shutdown going over to the side of Granit here. Dragdar, I don't know what happened, how he was so low when that fighted. He was basically a quarter HP, so I kind of want to focus towards him. You can see Tamos here, he's on a pink board while this fight is happening, and he just basically solos him out in the backline. And once Dragdar was this low, it was really easy for the rest of Granit to get in there. They lacked the main damage dealer, so they could actually deal with the front line this time without having to worry about Kai'Sa all of a sudden just zooming in there.
4K, really, I don't know how much 4K really means at this stage of the game, but it's not a huge deal in terms of team-wide gold differences. Let's take a look back. No, that's not. Wait. I got baited by the replay again. I'm sorry, Gulbug. I'm looking at our program feed when the replay has stopped, and then I'm like, there's a replay, and I'm like, no replay.
I got baited by it in the beginning, to be fair as well. Like, I totally thought a new replay was happening all the time, but yeah, we're out of the game and we can see QSS's ex-Scoundrel. 3 of them have finally been picked up by the side of Granit. So if there is a time where you can fight with even footing with Singularity, it is probably now. Skarner is going to be more useless now, just because it's hard for him to get on the carries. You need to go on the support, if anything, or the Gnar. And that's preferably not your target. Now, maybe if Rakan comes in with the quickness and you can stop him with your Skarn ultimate before he goes in on your key members, that could be a key pick, but outside of that, I'm not too sure.
Bezos going for the 1v1 here. He will have a huge shield to work with. And I just don't think you win these at this stage in the game, Thomas. And he clearly did not there. The engage comes through in the mid lane. Sayu taken low, forced to use the Zhonyas. He gets dragged back into Dragdar. The Magnet Storm is big. This might be the moment they're looking for as Dragdar picks up the double. It should be a quadra if he can catch out Dr. Chaos at the end of the day. And Prosper is determined to take him down. The Ignite lands, it's an ace, the minion waves are there, and this is a 2-0 for Singularity. Granit had the confidence, they could talk the talk, but they couldn't walk the walk when it came to these series, and Singularity will firmly place themselves in the next round of our losers bracket.
And what a beautiful way to finish out the game as well. Clutch 1v1 come down from Waystar, finally showing why this GP pick matters in a side lane, and then at the same time, Prosper once again with the rail, 3-man Magnet Storm, ready for the rest of his teammates to pick up the kills. What a true support right there.
Yeah, and I think even though it might not have been as dominant as the Nordavind series, it was still calculated, it was still relatively clean, and I still think Singularity are looking good in this portion of the bracket. Now, of course, we still have some big series to go. We have 2 more elimination matches that will be coming tomorrow, and of course, those are against the some of the more, like, the teams that came from the upper brackets. So we have Tricked, obviously, as well, playing in that too, so I'm very much looking forward to those games tomorrow, but it has been an excellent set of series today. I am very happy to have cast them with you, Gulbug. I had a really good time, and hopefully we'll get to do it again sometime soon. But in the meantime, to break down the day, I'm going to hand it over to our boys on the desk.
I'm very happy that you two casted together as well. Orcs has faded into a blur. Oh, there he is. Hello.
Yep. Settings went dodgy. I'm back though.
So, gents, another 2-0. We haven't had a series go all the way for the last 2 days now here at the playoffs. Looking like a lot of 2-0s so far. When's that trend going to kind of buck, really?
Like against XL, probably.
I hope so. That's going to be a fun one to watch for sure.
I don't know. I feel like the next round as well has a good chance of being a bit closer. It's obviously unfortunate we see these stomps. I think there were moments where I felt a bit closer, but overwhelmingly it has just been pretty one-sided. Feels like some teams have just got a better grip on the meta right now, better read, and are coming into playoffs stronger.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. So let's kind of wind it back a little bit towards this game and talk about this series. Let's not just talk about this game. I think let's talk about this series and kind of what we're seeing from Singularity. I think we're seeing pretty good team right now. And I think the problem we have with how many 2-0s we're having, bar XL and Fnatic, because they were very convincing. I don't know how good of a read I got on Nordavind or Team Singularity today, because their games were just, them winning 2-0, right?
Yeah, it was not particularly close. And the thing is that's kind of troubling as well is like how much experience do you gain out of these best of threes? Because I always think that's where you learn the most, right? Is like once you get into playoffs, get into high pressure situations, and you can play in these best ofs. But these games are just pretty one-sided, and I think for both sides, if you're on the winning side or the losing side, what do you take as the losing squad? What do you take to bring it into next season? And as the winning squad, what are you going to take from these games to bring it into the next round? Because I honestly think these teams weren't really challenged today, but they definitely will be moving forward.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that as we get into the next stage of this lower bracket, and also we still have the upper bracket finals. I think that's when we're going to start to see some more competitive games. I think especially the XL versus Fnatic game. Orcs highlighted that game is going to be the one we've been waiting for. I mean, there's no other way to put it. We haven't seen these two teams play versus each other, and that is what we've all come here for. Really, this is basically being the XL Fnatic waiting room. So pretty excited to see how that one goes down. But yeah, I think moving back towards this game, I think what we'll do is we're actually going to pull someone in who's been playing this game. Prosper, support for Team Singularity. How you doing? You all right?
Yeah, obviously always good to win a series. So, I'm in a pretty good mood.
I mean, winning it 2-0 as well, kind of keeping up with all the other teams that have won a series so far. Bit of a confidence boost for you guys going towards Tricked, maybe?
Honestly, I wouldn't say it's a massive confidence boost. I've been pretty happy with the team anyway. So I didn't have any lack of confidence coming into the series. I think we've finally gotten things back on track. If anything, I don't think these games were. I think we could have done better with these two games, but them being the first two games in playoffs, I don't think it's unusual for us to be a bit jittery, maybe.
Yeah. So, okay, moving forward then, versus Tricked, how do you guys feel about that particular matchup?
I think it should be a good game, honestly. I think there's a real distinction between the top three teams in each group. And I think it showed by the fact that everyone, maybe the academy teams are above, so it's top two, then the next four. But I'm looking forward to playing one of the teams we've not played yet. Nordavind or Tricked. I don't really mind which one we would have ended up playing. I think it's just going to be a fun series. And again, I think it's just going to be a good series. Hopefully we can win and play more good matches, but I don't think there's any way to call it who's favored right now. They look like they had a strong 2-0, but so did we. So
yeah, that's fair. Let's actually look at those academy teams. Which one's scarier right now? Which one would you rather avoid for as long as possible?
I'm not really sure, honestly. I guess whichever one wins. So whichever one we're not gonna be playing.
That's the most cop-out answer ever, there, mate.
I think XL probably look like the. It's hard to call because both teams have looked. They've had good games, and they've also had games that have been shown really big weaknesses, which is unusual for the academy teams. Usually they are kind of impenetrable apart from to each other. But this split, they've both thrown games to teams that everyone else in the playoffs has beaten. So at the very least, there's reason to believe this time around that actually both Fnatic and XL could throw a game to any of the teams left in the tournament, which realistically means it's down to how they prepared their read on the meta. It's kind of hard to call which one of them is stronger, because I think the patch is probably going to decide a lot about these playoffs and people's just form coming into it. I think the overall game understanding level is pretty close. It's just going to come down to like individual performances and how well people are meshing in the game.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough, mate. Honestly, congratulations on the win. Good luck with your game versus Tricked, and we'll speak to you soon, all right?
Yeah, hopefully. Thanks very much.
See you later, man. All right, what have I got next up on my list of things we need to do? Let's do the drawing board. Which one of you two's doing that?
Surprise, surprise. It's your boy, the better Dan. I've brought to you the very first dragon play of the game, the first kill as well, first blood, everything. It's pretty much where the game started going downhill for Granit. Now, I want you to take a look here. Am I on the right thing here? Give me a second, boys and girls.
Technical difficulties.
And we're almost one more time. No, come on. Yeah, okay, let's just... Yeah, okay, there we go. Not quite the start, but that's good enough. Basically, Granit, what you're doing here, mate, that's all this is. Like, it just shouldn't be here, because look at the way Singularity can punish this in group top fights. It's absolutely insane. Ro is such a strong champion right now. The fact that she can do things like this is just madness, you know, and Granit just have to respect that. And Gulborg made a really good point here on the desk. The top lane was being under pressure for Singularity, right? Ryza was a little bit vulnerable up there. Maybe you just say, if you're Granit, don't worry about bot side, don't worry about Dragon. Let's just try to do something top side. You know, they could have dove him, some plates set up there. I think that would have been a better call, but you know, as you saw, that's not really the play you want to make for Granit.
No. Well, congratulations on doing that drawing board, mate. You did a completely stellar job.
What was that? Congratulations.
Did he confirm me? I don't know.
I'm
Jay,
glad that's the first thing you've said all day, Orcs, as well. Just taking the mick out of someone else. Let's wind back time and have a look at all of our action from today as we go over the highlights. We had 2 best ofs, and they were both 2-0s. We've literally not had a best of series go all the way yet.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like game 1 is relatively close, and then game 2 is just an absolute stomp. It feels like the momentum is developed there, but there were definitely some back and forth moments. I think this game 1 as well, Kerberos was someone who was challenged quite a bit early on, but as soon as Nordavind started grouping up in these team fights, they just absolutely delivered, and it felt like Kova just weren't on the same level.
Yeah, Kova not really able to demonstrate what we'd seen flashes of during the regular season, and honestly quite dominated today by Nordavind. But at least it does show though the caliber of team that Nordavind is, which is honestly kind of nice, because this is a team that I've always wanted to see a bit more of, just hadn't really delivered until the latter half of the split. And here versus Singularity and Granit, look at that, man. It's just Granit and Dragons. Not a good combination.
Yeah, and I actually feel like you have to give some credit to Granit for trying something a little bit out of the box to try and get an advantage in this game 1, but just a bit of missed execution. In fairness, it was a hard to execute comp. And again, these games didn't feel as explosive as some of the ones we've seen so far in playoffs. There definitely felt there were moments where Granit was still keeping themselves relevant, but eventually Singularity just overwhelmed them, especially when they were just able to easily dictate engages in this second game. A lot of moments where they had, you know, things like this, like the Rel just diving in. There's very little counterplay to that.
How is this champion been slipping through drafts today? Like, I think this is the first time we saw her.
I think it was, yeah.
To the Ignite.
Yeah, that's cheeky.
Close.
That is. That's
trying
rude.
to pad that KDA one last kill. Wasn't able to get it. Oh, right. Well, I think it's Tweedledee who did today's MVP. So go on then.
And today's MVP is Kerberos. Yeah, I think game 1 obviously wasn't a great start. I've got to say it, rough start, but he bounced back. Okay, in that game as well on the Gnar, he had a really strong performance later on in the team fights, and then that Cho'Gath game, I've just written a bunch of ways to describe it, but it was pretty wild, pretty crazy.
Absolute unit, Chomp Master, Big Chungus, and Wide Boy with an eye.
I know it's your
I
mate,
honestly
though.
think that's fair. That's a fair summary of that Cho'Gath game. Yeah, he really popped off in that game, and it was not pleasant to watch.
The highlight for me was the Baron still, where they're just like baiting with the fact that the Skada's clearing vision while Cho'Gath is just eating Baron. Like, Really smart play there. But I know he's your mate and all, but you can't call him fat like that. That's pretty unfair.
I'm sure it's called him worse, to be fair.
Well,
It's mutual.
for us here at the NLC, we are going to wind down for the rest of the day. As I thought we'd still be going, to be honest. It's not even 9 o'clock here in the UK, but we are done with our matches. But don't worry, everybody. We have more coming up, so let's look at our bracket and see what we've got coming up tomorrow. This is how everything has fallen now at the end of the day. After Barrage and Trick lost their games yesterday, they have moved in to the lower bracket round 2, and then with the wins for Nordavind and Singularity, they will be matching up versus them. So tomorrow's matches will be Barrage versus Nordavind and Tricked versus Singularity. Any games here that you're excited for, Foxy?
Yeah, I'm really keen to watch Barrage Nordavind for sure. I think that these are probably the 2 best teams out of those 4 in the elimination match, and maybe that's a lot to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. And I'm just curious to see how they do.
Who predicted Cove and Granit to win today?
I predicted 2 zeros. The details are unimportant. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we're running with that.
You plonker. Honestly, yeah.
Jake, you literally copied me. Like,
No, I wrote it first, actually. Turd.
yesterday,
I wrote
you
it
literally
first.
you wrote it in chat. You literally wrote it in chat. You
After
didn't
this
even put
broadcast-
your own score. You just replied to my comment and said, "Yeah, I'll do what Orc did."
I'll have what he's having.
After this show, I'm going back up through that Discord chat, and I'm gonna screenshot. But I wrote that first. Get me out. Get me out, Max. All right, let's see. So tomorrow we obviously have those 2 matches, which I've already forgotten because my brain is shut down. I hate you all so goddamn much. But don't worry, there is one more day. And then after that, we actually take a week off from the NLC. However, on the 8th, we will be starting up the Telia Masters, which is the teams coming in from the Telia series and the UKLC. Orcs, what are you laughing at?
I don't know. Foxtrot just looks so concerned.
I was like, that's not April, is it? We're not that far through March
Keith,
already.
we're on March, don't worry.
I'm completely out of it as far as calendar goes.
I know the month-long lockdown has now lasted a year, but
Yeah,
we are
blending into each other.
everything is all
really
blended
are.
together. I'm going to try and do this as professional as possible, and then I'm going to let it go. So, Telia starts on the 8th. We have all the teams coming in from all the different Telia Masters representing the Nordics and the UKLC, 2 teams from each of those leagues, battling out. The top 2 will fight versus M&M and... Oh, no, this is bad. Whoever the other team is. And they will be in with a chance of making it into the NLC. So, don't worry, there will be some League of Legends action. Dusty, thank you. Yes, Dusty and M&M, and there'll be a chance to make it to the NLC. And then the week after that, we'll be back with more League of Legends action here at the Northern League Championship. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much to our tremendous casters. Thank you to Foxdrop. No thank you to Orc. Screw you. We'll see you tomorrow for more NLC.
If you wanna find love, then you gotta have faith. The world is on your side. The world is on your side. If you wanna find love, then you got to have faith. The world will be your guide. The world will be your guide. No, I don't care. No one can tear you down. We'll lift you up. It's about here and now. Yeah, you're gonna find love. Yeah, you're gonna be alright.